Hey, what's going on, Shree and Quentin?
Hey, how
Hey,
you doing?
girl.
How are you doing? We went straight to the punch today, so we want to get all this today because we know this is gonna be a great conversation, and I'm so excited because sure you've known me since I was like 12, so.
Yeah.
And then Quentin came on the scene in chapter 2 a little bit later in life.
Yeah.
We're so glad to have you here, brother Isabel.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So, for those that are not familiar with you, sure you have been here before,
Yes.
but we definitely want to welcome you back to the show. So, kind of let those that are not familiar with you to know who you are and a little bit about what each of you do.
Okay. Well, I am Shree Isabell. Of course, this is my wonderful husband, aka Chocolate Drop Quentin. But
Yeah.
I am a gospel artist. I'm an evangelist. I'm a radio host. We have our own radio show on our internet gospel station, the Shree Isabel Show on Isabel Radio. Y'all looking for some good gospel music. We play old school and the new school. So
Yeah.
so we do that. Also, I'm one of the lead singers for Dr. Bobby Jones in the Nashville Super Choir. If
Mhm.
y'all are ever in Nashville and you go to the African American Music Museum, I am on one of the exhibits there with Dr. Jones. So that's just a little bit of what we do.
Yes, Jay Scott talking about Suge Knight. Oh my gosh. Introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Quentin Isabell. I am a proud native of Indiana,
Boo,
a
Right.
Colts fan
boo.
for all you Titan folk out there. We are parents of two girls, 25 and 21. And I am a drummer. I do play for
One of
her.
the coldest. He's being modest, y'all. We call him Sugar. He is one of the
Right.
coldest percussionists out here,
Yes.
like no
Oh,
cap.
Thank you.
oh, thank you so much. I have been in Tennessee since 1999. So people tell me I'm a native. I refuse to take that title. I'm still a Hoosier through and
Boo.
through. Currently, myself and my wife, we have a mobile notary business. So we do that during the daytime. We travel around Middle Tennessee and notarize documents, loan documents for a title company.
Mhm.
So
Nice.
that's pretty much it for me.
Okay. So kind of give us some backstory. What is your love journey? Like how did you guys meet?
All right. So
Tell it
we
right, brother.
kind of crazy story. I think the first time I saw her was in 2000, maybe. I think there was a banquet at the Maxwell House that Zina Perun was doing, and OCT went. So that was my first time seeing her or hear her sing. But kind of fast forward throughout the years, obviously our churches were fellowship together, and then obviously we had the Pentecost Sundays. We'd see each other, but I think it was 2007 when she did her first live
Oh yeah.
recording.
Hmm.
Kendall,
My
he
god brother Wayne.
yeah, he called me. He was like, "Hey, Cherie wants you to play drums for her live
Oh, I
recording,"
forgot
and I'm
about
just
that.
like, "Who, me?" So I did. Great experience. Um, After that, I became her manager, and that was actually suggested by Greg, Pastor Greg Johnson. He told me to, make sure I looked out for her, which I did,
He did.
and our relationship just kind of flourished from there.
Tell it, brother Isabel.
My God.
He said, y'all, he says he gave me an application, which I told him I don't do applications.
I did.
I just get hired on.
This is going to be a very interesting interview.
Yes.
So before we get started, y'all drop some hearts below. It's February, so we want people to tune in and get this conversation. I'm super excited. So that is your love journey. That is Q's take on it. Cherie, what was your perception of your love journey, or when you first met Quentin?
um, well, he's always been which of course this was probably what was most attractive because he's always been such a great friend. Like he
Mhm.
really did. He looked after me. I remember one company or something I was dealing with, he looked over the contracts for me and told me straight out, he's like, no, I don't think this is a good deal.
Wow.
So I know what I loved about him, that he was always, now remind you, at this point, we're still just friends.
Right.
But he always was resourceful. Like he never told me that. He'll tell me that now, but he never told me. I never heard the words "I don't know" from him. Like he would always say, well, let me check into that and I'll get back with you. Let me do some research and I'll get back with you.
Yeah.
So after the concert, we had a concert in Louisville. I think that's kind of where it started kind of blossoming, because we would talk on the phone, and it was like legit, like great conversation. Nothing, nothing shady, nothing sneaky link style, nothing like that. It was just, and we, I found out we had so much in common. We were both church nerds. We were both church babies.
Okay.
We both knew like some of the same people. He knew the history of like his church organization. Like, and our conversations was just so great.
Yeah.
So, okay, Camille, because I've only shared this like openly once before.
Okay.
So that was like the end of the year. Now the next year was like the Stellars. We went to the Stellars together. And then round about February, as the young people say, I probably started catching feelings a little bit, because I ain't tell him that.
You was feeling on shook.
I ain't telling him that, girl. I ain't telling him that. I was catching feelings. So I think it was like February, and y'all, this is my testimony. I was praying. I think it was February, and I was praying because our conversations were getting deeper and we were connecting more. And by this point, y'all, I'm 35 years old. I had already gone through divorce, and I was praying. I said, Lord, I'm too old to be going through foolishness. So I remember for some reason I was having heart issues or something, and I was wearing a heart monitor. So I was at the doctor's office, and I'm only 5'4", so my feet was dangling off the table.
Me too.
And I started praying. I was talking to the Lord. I said, Lord, if this is not you, if this is not going to go anywhere, I don't want this. If this is not your will, I was like, Lord, I'm at the heart doctor. At the doctor's office, I have a heart monitor hooked up to me. And this is my prayer. I was saying to God, I said, Lord, I'm too old for my heart to be toyed with. I don't want to go through all this. God, is this the person that's going to protect my heart? And I'm praying all these heart prayers. Y'all, while connected to the heart monitor, I look around, I'm praying this prayer. I look around, and the heart machine, the company of it was Quentin. Name was Quentin. And I was like, Lord, what the what? And because I'm praying all these heart prayers.
Right.
And then I think behind me, and the name on the machine, on the heart machine, was Quentin. So that was kind of like my answer to my prayer. And it just kind of flourished from there.
That guy is crazy. He said, with your Nutella and Jif looking selves. Bye.
Boy, get offline.
Right.
Love you too, J. Scott. Oh my gosh. So since he said he's a church nerd, we're going to test this knowledge. We're going to play a little icebreaker before we get into the conversation. It's called This or That. This is the church edition. So this or that, a Viscount Legend or a Hammond B3?
What? Hammond B3?
Hammond B3.
Dare I even ask that? Okay. Dare me. Ooh, the shade. Okay. Going right along. Chest tones or head tones?
Chest tones.
Depending on the song.
Okay.
Depending on the song. Some songs sound better with head tones. Now, if you're singing something hard in church, he definitely a chest tone. But if you're singing something that's very light and kind of whimsical, you need a head tone for that.
And see, I'm a choir girl, so I know what I'm asking for those that are wondering.
Thank you.
Y'all know me.
That's good. That's a good one.
You know me. Okay. I'm choosing violence. Commission or Take Six?
I'm a Commission fan.
Okay.
You gonna sleep on the couch tonight? What you gonna say? You probably like Commission Take Six, don't you?
So I didn't have a lot of exposure to commission growing up. It was my preference because me being a drummer, I was always geared towards music that was live.
Yes.
And because commission and the Winans did a lot of the
Oh, don't put the Winans in there.
a lot of the program I didn't listen to it. But I did love Take Six though, because of their acapella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ricky Diller or James Hall?
Oh, James Hall? Say Ricky Diller if you want to.
See, when growing up, I wasn't exposed to James Hall.
No, I
really wasn't. No, I really wasn't. But I was throwing shade, but I really wasn't.
I caught it.
But no, he is a diehard James Hall fan. Diehard. Okay. But I would probably pick Ricky Diller.
Okay.
I mean, for real.
Okay. Curveball, spring or fall?
Spring.
Spring, yeah.
Me too. Okay. Mally music or Travis Green?
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Mally.
See, I would probably say Travis.
Mally's been out longer. I think Travis kind of.
I know, but
I think Mally has more range as a musician.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You good, Millie. Good.
I still feel like Travis though.
Yes. Okay. Kirk Franklin or James Fortune?
Oh,
Kirk Franklin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Pace sisters or the Clark sisters?
I'm gonna say Clark's. Now I'm a Clark fan. Who you like between them two?
I had to go Clark sisters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one is straight. This is some down south questions. Peach cobbler or pecan pie?
Peach cobbler. She said down south.
Pecan pie.
We do cobbler down south.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. But we are here to encourage love. Okay. That's the premise. So we're going to hop right into the first conversation. The first thing I want to talk about is when you guys met, you both came out of previous marriages. So how did you two, first of all, let's go back to your single mind. How did you survive? Because you're both in the ministry of music, dealing with experiencing hurt, brokenness, while still having to minister or operate your gift and not getting ministered to yourself, going through previous divorces.
How did we survive?
Or
how did you get through that space?
Y'all, I pray a lot, or at least I try to. There's something else I talked to the Lord about. I asked God to keep me busy. Now I don't know what helps other people, but I prayed and I asked the Lord, because honestly, I thought that I didn't think marriage was in the plan for me ever again. I really didn't. Thought it was one and done. So I just asked God. I really got down to business with God. And I'm not trying to sound super deep and spooky and spiritual, but honestly, my singleness, that was the closest probably that I've ever felt to God, felt the Lord, or closest I felt to him, because I was in a place where I had to rely on him. I didn't have anybody else. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My mother had her own thing going on. My brothers and sisters had their own thing going on. And that was the first time, because I pretty much the first time, for the most part, went from my father's house to a husband's house. So I had never lived on my own, had never had to contend with paying lights, water, and buying food and all that. So I really had to rely on God, and I asked him to keep me busy, and the Lord did that. Whatever I could find my hands to do. And then I was preaching too, and it seemed like the Lord knows how to do things. Like my schedule seemed to boom during that time. One of my god brothers told me, he was like, I remember you asked the Lord to keep you busy. And well, I ain't gonna say it the way he said it, but he was like, N word, you busy. Like
insert here.
Literally correct. But and I think the Lord did that for me. Not that I was not trying to deal with emotions. And I guess that was how I dealt with it, because where I'm from, it just really wasn't a lot of support. And you kind of got looked down upon if you sought support outside of like the church realm. So I had to deal with that, and just all the emotional stuff. So God really brought me, I really had to depend on him. And y'all, I found out, I didn't, at that point in my life, I didn't know just the God of my bishop or the God of my mother, but I really learned God for myself, because I learned that God was a provider. I remember a lot of times that my mother and father, they didn't have much education, but they always taught us to pay your bills and don't mess up your credit. That they didn't really know a whole lot, but they taught us that. So oftentimes I would pay all my bills, and honest to God, I wouldn't even have food left over. But y'all, every time I got down low, one of them sisters, they would come and say, "Hey, look, and I'm gonna wink on this. Get your $30 off his card right here." Like every time. And I'm probably as bougie as they come. But honey, I took my little bougie self to the store and I got that little $30 worth off their card, But I just saw the hand of God take care of me. Every time I got low or needed something, God came through for me. So I don't know, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah,
but,
it
did. Okay. What about you, Isabell?
So for me, mine was a little different. I think my focus, what kind of kept me, was my daughters, keeping focus on them, making sure that they had everything they needed, and kind of like what Shree did, staying busy, with church. So, at the time I was minister of music of the church. So that, it's along with, trying to raise two girls, kind of kept me going and kind of kept me busy, and where I didn't have to focus on it so much. So, and, similar to hers, really wasn't a lot of, support out there, and, the stigma that, we all know that the church puts on that.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that, because it just seems like we dance around that topic, and that's a part of ministry that's needed. And it's not to promote divorce, but
right, absolutely.
Divorce rates in church are high,
Yes.
And my question is, why is that not having divorce care or some type of divorce ministry to guide people through that transition? Because I've heard people say it's like experiencing someone die. Like, we have a bereavement committee. Why not have a divorce care? Because it is needed. And usually in those situations, the woman is more catered to, but men have feelings. They go through things, you experience rejection. So even the impact of divorce on men. And so this is my question I want to hit Quentin with is, I've seen men, even in church, when they're hurt, they go savage and they don't bounce back from that. So what kept you from turning into a dog or a bad boy, or going savage, or just, I'm gonna be in these streets? Like, what made that different from you? Because we see that so many times when men are hurt, a lot of times they don't bounce back from that.
Well, I think for me, it's not really my personality, but I always joke from my childhood. My father raised me extremely strict, and I always had a fear of anything that I do. There's going to be consequences for me. Other people may be able to do that, but for me, it's going to be severe consequences. Like, I remember, growing up in high school, where I was like, I wouldn't even dare think about, messing with a girl, because my fear was, soon as I do, the trumpet gonna sound.
Right.
And then I'm stuck. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, it was just that training that I had growing up, I guess, is more of a fear thing for me. And then two, it's not really, I didn't want to get caught up in all that, because I knew that I wanted to hopefully, get remarried. And, I did have a moment, my girls joke about, when I had a couple young ladies.
He thought he was a player.
Before Shree, where, I would have a couple young ladies that I was talking to, and I'd knock on the door of one and getting off the phone at the same time. So,
I can't believe you confessed that out loud.
I did.
You supposed to be a Pentecostal playboy?
It was just,
a brief moment, y'all.
I was just kind of, checking out, seeing.
Go ahead and minimize it. We hear you.
who was
He did it, Camille.
who was going to potentially, be the next, Mrs. Isabel. So,
Right.
But oh, when the one came, Shama.
Shata.
yeah. So
Yeah.
again, that's just, I just didn't. That's just never really been me. If I had to suffer in silence, I'd rather do that versus,
But that's the thing in church is always suffering
Yeah.
in silence. And I feel
Yeah.
like, why is that necessary? Or why do we feel like we have to do that? So, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation in a way that's transparent, because there's so many people in church suffering in silence because of a divorce or heartbreak or heartache. And just kind of to open the door to at least start the conversation to where it can garner maybe something down the road where things can
Right.
be implemented. Because you want to scream about paying your tithes, but you don't tell people how to manage the 90%. You tell people not to fornicate, but then you're not giving them other resources to
Absolutely.
maintain before they get married. Or I'm single, I've never been married, and I came, I'm a PK, and coming through the culture of, well, if you're not married by this time with a kid, then something must be wrong with you.
Right.
Not to see, well, she's called to the marketplace, and maybe God's gonna bring her husband later after she does some other things. And like with you went from your parents' house to being married, but what about encouraging women to explore themselves and save, or going to get an education? Like me,
Exactly.
I joined the military, and Greater Christ is like, y'all, you doing what? So going through that, but yet still, God has shown me He's provided, He's protected for me,
Yes.
protected me. Didn't always get it right, but He's always shown His hand throughout the whole process. And then here I am having these conversations because either things I've experienced or my friends have experienced. And it's like, we need to rip this Band-Aid off because there's too many topics that are taboo in the church. They're not being discussed. And people are just shouting over things, and you need to go to therapy. There's counseling. There's other ways of ministering to people other than just coming to church and spitting all over the altar, which we can't even do that anymore.
Right.
But it's just like, we need to have this conversation. So with you guys going through that, can you kind of touch on and to not bring other people into the situation, but where were you within yourself as far as your self-esteem after the aftermath of the divorce?
Well, I can say briefly for me, and I was actually talking to someone yesterday who is kind of going through something similar, where it's kind of crazy from a man's point of view, but I kind of felt like, maybe I won't be able to find anybody because I've got two girls. Nobody's going to want to come into, relationship with two girls. Kind of like, sometimes how single women feel when they have kids. So I went through that briefly for myself, just, worrying about, my previous mistakes and, is that going to come back to haunt me, or how am I going to be able to, get over that and be who I need to be for future Mrs. Isabell. So it happens for men too. Too. Sometimes you always hear that on the female perspective, but definitely men go through that as well.
Yeah. And for me, just to be honest, my self-esteem was on the floor in the basement. I mean, just to be honest.
Right.
Because I was in ministry, and I had this like almost like a spirit of paranoia. Like everywhere I went, like even churches that like a friend of mine, we had a conversation because he's our church's fellowship. I guess he thought I was mad at him, but he didn't know that I had gone through divorce and had gone through other things. And like even when I would be invited to speak at churches, literally the enemy would mess with my mind to the point was like, what they know, what they done heard. It's like I literally had like a spirit of paranoia, because it's like, why they say that, what they know, what they do, because like the last time I'd be at a church, I was married, and then when they invited me back, I was single. So I went through all that, just the mental part of, but I really and we talk about getting healed before moving on to another relationship, and that is so important. And I was going to say, when you mentioned before, Camille, about why don't we promote therapy? And of course, when I first got married, both of us was like in the 90s. So, I mean, it's a long time ago, but
Yeah, but that was a different era.
it,
Era.
it really was. And even
Yeah.
the mentality of the church, sometimes church leaders thought that if you got married, that solved all your problems. And it didn't, because there was, like as you said, there was no really training. There was really no for real counseling. You may have one or two meetings with the pastor, but I'm talking about really for real therapy, training, things to get your mind together. But the healing process is so important. Now, anybody that's going through, and of course we do not promote divorce and we don't advocate it, but if you're having to go that route, I would tell anybody, make sure you have that outlet, whether it's a counselor, therapist, and if it is someone in your church, make sure it's someone that you can trust, that is a real confidant, but get you some help. Don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer with the esteem issues, and you don't have to go through that. There are too many. God has too many resources. There's too many resources now.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel bad. I felt bad going through my situation, because if you sought help outside of the church, then you were talked about, or you were looked down upon, or you didn't have enough faith, or you just need to trust God. So, we literally had to walk through those steps basically alone. But see, with the resources that are out there now, you can get counseling online, and you don't even have to go to an office. There are things. Don't go through this by yourself. Then you have the spirit of depression and other things that come along with it. So don't go through it by yourself.
Yeah, that's really good. One thing I do want to ask Quentin, when you mentioned those sweethearts, when there's a new lady coming into the scene and there's like the vetting process, how was it blending the family as far as the acceptance and welcoming Shree in and vice versa? Like, what was that like? Did you guys experience? Because sometimes I've been a stepchild before, and it can be tense. Like, who was this person? Like, what was that experience like, and how did you guys blend and gel?
That one was a little more difficult because of outside factors.
Yeah.
So it was more so of me trying to force it, which kind of maybe pushed everybody further apart. So I would encourage somebody to kind of let it happen natural, and not try to force the situation. And I've seen other friends that have done it where they have made sure that, they spend enough time together. Just so they can get to know each other and know everybody's mannerisms, know the tone, just so that there's no miscommunications. So that's something that I wish I can go back and kind of change. It is extremely
It's
great.
an adjustment.
Yeah,
And I've gone through that. And it's an adjustment because, it's new, it's unfamiliar, and especially for daddy girls, so it's like,
Right.
switch. And I totally understand that. So going forward into that now, and then, Shree is here and everything's coming together. And now you guys are in ministry together and music and labels. So can you guys kind of touch on the importance of when you marry somebody that may not be so much tied into your purpose, or the importance of marrying someone that aligns with your purpose, and how your gifts complement each other in marriage and in ministry, and how important that is?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and that's where again, I'm a minister, so sometimes y'all gonna hear the churchiness come out. But you have to, and you have to be willing to accept whatever the will of the Lord is. And it's because at certain points of life, when I got remarried, I was 35 years old. I already knew what I was willing to put up with and what I wasn't willing to put up with. So I mean, you have to know who you are. You have to know your purpose. You have to know what you're called into, what the job that God has for you. And you have to really be aware and really be prayerful, in asking God and seeking God for, a spouse, a mate or
Right.
whatnot. Um, I mean, and that's the thing. That's part of the healing process as well,
Mhm.
because you have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then I mean, what you won't even know what type of man that you desire or that you want. So I mean, you have to know who you are. You have to know your strengths. You even have to know your weaknesses. If you were in a marriage before, you have to know. You have to be willing. And the reason why some people they go from one relationship to another and they're still not successful, because they never took the time to see what they did. They never took the time to learn their lesson. I knew, in order to continue that healing process, and be prepared for the next one if the Lord saw fit, I knew I had to look back at myself and say, hey, what did you do to contribute to where you ended up? And
Accountability. It's
it-
always people finger point, but then it's like you have to also look at your role in the situation as well.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. So, I mean, that's so important. We always want to talk about being not unequally yoked, talking about a believer and a non believer. But sometimes, even in the church, we getting with folks and you ain't a bit more equally yoked than a man in the moon. You've been saved 20 years, and then this cute little person with the gold tooth just got saved yesterday. And then all of a sudden, that's just not, there's no experiences there. There's nothing that's compatible there. So I mean, you just have to know who you are. You have to know your purpose again, and you have to know where God. I knew, I'm not saying I'm all that. I'm the best singer, best preacher. There's people that can out sing me, out preach me before I get to the mic good. But I
Right.
knew that God was taking me somewhere, and
Right.
I knew that whoever was in my life, they had to be able to understand that call and understand me, my personality, my ministry. They had to understand that and be willing to accept it. What did you say Bishop asked you when you told him about me? What did he, our pastor,
Bishop Mary was like, I asked him, I
do
was
do
like,
his voice?
I said, Bishop was like, I want to ask,
Mhm.
he was like, mm. He said, she gonna say yeah? And I was like, what? And I was like, And he did ask me too, as far as how I would feel with
No,
someone
he go,
out front.
well,
Yeah, yeah. Somebody who's out front, if that would bother me,
yeah,
as
because
being,
men can be insecure,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And that to me, again, goes back to my personality. That stuff don't bother me,
right.
because at the end of the day, I knew, saying where she would come home to. So, if she succeeded, I succeeded.
All right,
And so,
absolutely.
that's been my thing the
You
whole time.
opening the door because I do want to talk about that because, and I've seen it happen to some of my other friends where they were more in the forefront because of what they do.
Right.
And the husband became resentful or jealous of the wife's gift. And I've seen it in return, and vice versa, but
Mhm.
particularly with men where they can sabotage things, because of ego or whatever. So,
Mhm.
and you said that's not your personality, which is great, but it does happen. That's a real
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
And some people can't handle that if their spouse is more in the forefront. You have insecurities, especially if you've gone through something in a previous marriage, which ties into the next topic as far as learning to trust again, being willing to be
Yes.
vulnerable again, and coming to a situation where you both had emotional triggers or traumas. Like, how did you guys navigate that space?
You want to start? You want to go first? Oh, well, I know with me, Camille, I asked the Lord not to bring me anybody until I was healed and could handle it.
Mm,
And that's part of maturity. That's part of going through the process. That's the healing process. Because I knew it wasn't no sense in somebody, a wonderful man, coming into my life, and then I'm still blaming him. I'm blaming the new guy for what the old guy did. And I,
right.
I didn't want to take a brother through that. Because let's be honest, girls, we can be crazy.
Oh,
I mean, let's just be honest. We can be out there. We crazy sometimes. And I knew, I was like, Lord, I do not want to put a brother through that, going through all these crazy weird emotions and having
mhm.
flashbacks and being triggered and traumatized because he say pumpkin, or because he put the toilet paper a certain way.
What
and
do you
then
mean
triggered.
pumpkin? What, you know,
right, and then
you're not gonna do me like that. You know, we women do that. And
we
so
can be
you're
crazy.
right, you do have to heal from that because
Yes,
and he's wondering why you're flipping out, not knowing it's because of something, and now you're just like snatching air and you know, doing
yeah,
all
right.
so it's just like
Right.
you have to get in a space, like you said before, to be healed because if he's like, I'm going to get gas, well, it only take 3 minutes, he's been gone 8. So where's you know,
All that craziness. Yeah. Why would you want to put a brother through that? I'm sorry.
No, you good. I tell you, I knew that she was good. She was good and healed because beginning of our marriage, I accidentally called her by my ex-wife's name, and she didn't.
whoa.
Why is you
Flag on the
telling the
play.
people that? Why is you telling the people that?
Out of habit. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, right.
It was a habit, you know.
Yeah.
Because we're
Sheree,
married.
you didn't rip off eyelashes?
No, I really did.
She was so chill, and
Yeah.
I was like, I was shaking because I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I mean, you spend 10, 11 years of your life with somebody you've called that name.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, I wasn't going to flip out on
Sheree,
that.
Leslie Isabell. I'm going to tell you something, okay? Sis, you's a good
Now,
one.
it wasn't doing no private moment, y'all. Just in case y'all, it wasn't during
Okay, because Camille Celeste would have been moving furniture.
Yeah, I mean, I seen, and I think I was, 35. I was at a different place of maturity.
Yeah.
You know, you spend over 10 years of your life with this other individual. You know, I'm surprised.
Y'all Black Woman National Anthem. We're taking them earrings off and over.
And I knew I was saved for real, honey. I was saved
Yeah.
for real, and healed for real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's that song? Jesus is your homie.
I will never forget that day. It was
near Did Tom stop? Did you hear Bird singing in the
did.
park?
Yeah, I did. Everything was slow motion. And I was
like,
where's the door?
Really?
Where's the door?
Did you really?
Did you hear the Michael Myers music?
Yep.
I didn't know you was emotional like that.
Scary day. So
you should have been.
When her reaction showed me that she was, because I was like, I've heard horror stories and it didn't happen. So
yeah.
I was like, thank God. Amen.
Thank God for the blood.
I didn't even know that, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's deep. What about you, Sheree?
Well, as far as what?
Being willing to be vulnerable and to love again, like being in that space.
I was single for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard. It was hard because I'm like, I didn't want to be hurt. I didn't want to go through foolishness. I didn't want to go through no scandals. I didn't want to go through that, so to be trusting. But again, with Quentin, we were already friends. We and the old saying said friends before lovers.
Yes.
That's really a true saying.
Power of friendship before relationship. I don't think a lot of people understand that.
They don't.
Because being friend zoned is actually one of the most powerful places a man can exist with a woman if he's smart and not in a manipulative way.
Yes.
But out of a place of wisdom, if he's a man of integrity, it's actually the best place to be if she's like, that's my friend, because that's a place where you can actually learn, trust, grow. Yes. And there's no motive. It's like friendship. It's like love with no strings attached. Not in a way, but there's no MO there.
Yep. Yes. And that's how it was. I mean, literally, that's because I already had a level of trust for him. Because again, remember, I told you he was not only was he such a cool friend, he was a resourceful friend. I mean, friend got things done. Like if I said, hey, Quentin, can you look into this for me? Or how does this work? He never told me, I don't, Sheree, I don't know. He always told me, let me do some research and I'll get back with you.
Like, but that was building trust for you in the friendship of that, because you knew he was reliable, he was resourceful. That's a good place to start.
Yeah. So along with being healed of fears and being vulnerable, he really made that easy, because again, we were already friends. We were already cool. We already had so much in common with our backgrounds, our love for music, being deeply involved in the ministries where we were. So we already had so many connections. It really was like a natural I don't know if evolution is the right word. It was like a natural flow into that next level past the friend zone. So yeah.
So Quentin, can you kind of touch on for the brothers the importance of being her friend and learning her before? Because a lot of guys want to go just straight to, I just want to holler, like courting, dating, especially with this generation. Everything is like so fast, and it's like nobody really wants to take the time to talk, get to know each other. Oh, that's lame. But the importance, not texting, but like talking,
Yes.
learn, doing things together. What
Yeah.
are her interests? Like, can you kind of unpack that for the brothers a little bit?
Well, that's a maturity thing.
Okay.
You've got to be mature enough to understand that ladies are more than just the physical outward appearance. Well, obviously, she's a beautiful lady, so that was something that caught me. But I wanted to know who she was. I wanted to find out what made her tick. A lot of it was I kind of looked at it kind of like research. Just so I knew how to make, if this was going to work, a second time, how to make sure that it was successful and that there were no issues. I knew not to say this, not to say that in order to trigger or,
Learning her temperament.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then
when Shree Isabell is what you did. You became a Shree
I did. Right. And by knowing that and listening, because ladies will give you tips all day long.
Yep.
And that's something that I learned working in sales for years, is when you listen to people, they'll tell you what they want. And that was something I wanted to listen and find out, what is it that she wants. And
he still does that.
I still do that. And I think I've pretty much got everything off the list. I asked, what is it that you were wanting for Valentine's Day? And she was like, you've got everything that I've, ever asked for. So
yeah, for real.
And that's for me listening. Now, I will tell you this funny story. I think it was our first and second year.
Oh, I know what you're going to
Christmas. I was still honing my skills as a listener. And she had a crock pot that she had borrowed from her mom. And so I was thinking, man, what a great gift for her is to get her own crock pot. And that backfired severely when she opened that up on Christmas Day.
I'm looking at this big box with my name on it. I'm thinking it's something jewelry or something. I opened that thing up and it was a crock pot. I could have thrown that thing out the window.
Oh man.
Yeah, and that was a learning experience. And I mentioned it to Bishop, and he was like, "No, man, no, you never buy him something that you use for the house." And I was like, I thought I was listening.
You did, but you just got the wrong thing.
Yeah. Went down the wrong path.
To his head and not his heart.
Yes, that's right.
Exactly.
So going through those trials of trust, where is one instance in the early stages of your marriage when you realized that you still needed to work on areas of trust in the marriage because of what had happened in the past?
That's a good one.
Kid you not, I can't think of any.
Me either.
Because I think we did such a, God, it sounds so boastful, but I think we did a good job of trying to learn each other, where there really weren't any instances I can think of where there were any trust issues, because she knew who I was and my love for her, and vice versa. Something that we always reaffirm, like she tells me multiple times a week how I'm her favorite person.
It ain't no multiple times.
Yeah, it is, girl. So I honestly, that's a great question, but for us, I honestly cannot think of a time where we had anything, because again, it's going back to the maturity thing, and then also listening and knowing and being conscious and making sure that you're not doing anything intentionally. And if you do, and you can kind of see where it may be going, you be like, hey, I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant. That's not what I didn't mean, kind of head it off at the pass so it doesn't become anything bigger.
Yeah.
So do you guys find each other quicker to apologize if you realize something may have hurt the other's feeling?
I think he's a little quicker than I will repent, but he's a little quicker at it than I am. Y'all pray for him. Yeah, but I think this may be coming with age and maturity. I think the older I get, maybe because I know every year as closer to the Lord coming back. But
I'm listening. Okay.
The older I get, I try to repent quickly. Like now, I might be mad. I think a couple weeks ago I was mad for a whole day. Was I mad for a day? Man, I think I stopped being mad. Like the Bible said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So I think I try to be through with everything by the time it's time to go to bed.
5:15.
Right. Literally, it's like for a day, literally.
And I can't tell you what. I don't even remember. I have no idea.
Oh, you did something to me, maybe, man. I can't remember what it is now.
I cannot remember. So yeah, I try to make sure that there's peace. Yeah. Because nothing worse than a house
because you've already gone through that and you don't want that again.
Yeah. And because of I always say that, before it was almost kind of like boot camp. So I can be the absolute best, for her in this season that we're in. So,
And he is.
Listen, I've known them for years, and seeing them in church is hilarious.
Oh gosh.
Because I ear hustle, and I could be walking by, and she's like, "No, Brother Isabell," and I'm like, "Why is she calling her husband?"
Yeah.
Or him, Camille, when you was away in the military, him trying to direct me on the praise team from the drums. You off. And I'm looking at the music director like, am I off? And he's like, no.
No, because he'll look over his glasses like,
right. Like, I need you to play the drums, sir. I got a music director up here that can tell me if I'm off. Sir.
Oh my gosh. So it is genuine love. It is nothing but all love. I'm just really enjoying the conversation. I'm looking at my list. We pretty much hit all the things I feel like we should bring out. First of all, I just want to appreciate you guys' transparency, just sharing your love journey and everything that you guys have gone through. This has been a lot of fun. But before we leave, do you have any nuggets or jewels to leave for those that have been divorced or maybe going through divorce and they're kind of gun shy about wanting to consider another relationship or marriage?
I would say, first and foremost, make sure that you heal. Mm-hmm. That's first. You have got to make sure that you're not carrying anything into the next relationship. That may make that relationship sour, So you have to understand that they're two separate individuals. Exactly. You cannot hold them to, standards of the past. But the healing is first. And then take time to, take care of yourself, love yourself.
Absolutely.
Enjoy that time just with you. So you have that self-love. Because that plays a part, in the marriage as well. So obviously if you can love yourself, then you can love someone else as well.
Mm-hmm. And for the ladies, I would say to kind of piggyback off that, like I love like Camille and one of my god sisters was like that. Like she just enjoyed life and worked her job and just and traveled and did things. That's what I would say to the ladies, because so often, especially in the era that I came from, like Camille said, they always want to judge you that if you're not married by 30 or if you haven't done this, you don't not married and have a child. But learn again that self-love, that is a real thing. Self-care, self-love, that is a real thing. Enjoy life, especially those of us that grew up of the apostolic Pentecostal persuasion. That wasn't really pushed. They always thought you're going to backslide but travel the world. Yeah. It's one of my mottos that I've had in these last few months, and it's simply I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna enjoy every piece of God's creation that I can possibly enjoy. But I'm doing things now at almost 50 that I didn't do at 25 because I was so gun ho on getting married and having a wedding. People focus on the wedding. People still
They
do.
idolize marriage. It's like it's an idol. Like they
Yes,
worship it.
instead of the what comes after the marriage and the process afterwards. So,
Mhm,
learn to live life.
mhm.
And if you're in ministry, you know, uh I'm doing like biblical courses online now, but hone your craft, whatever your calling is. I don't care if you're a chef or you work in childcare. I don't care what you do, but find something to better your career or your craft, or
Mhm.
just yourself in general. Don't Sometimes, especially for ladies, we are so focused on getting married, having the big wedding, having oh, I had 500 people at my wedding and my train was back to the door. And then a year later, y'all divorced. Y'all done spent $50,000, and y'all, instead of learning yourself so you can be the person that God wants you to be for someone else. And that's always been my prayer. And even
Mhm.
now I pray that prayer. I said, Lord, allow me to be the wife for Quentin that you will have me to be. And,
That's
and keep God first. That's a real thing. And I think that's too why we've been so successful as well,
mhm.
because we have I always quote the scripture, Matthew 6:33. One translation says that if we make the kingdom of God our primary concern, and we have always done it. Again, I'm a preacher, y'all. So of course I'm gonna say some churchy
Mhm.
stuff, but that's important. You gotta keep God first. You gotta keep God centered, because and I wanted a man that loved God more than he loved me.
Mhm.
And I'm telling y'all, brother
You
Quentin
gotta
is,
have that check and that balance,
yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
faithful now, honey. Let me tell you, he loyal. He is
We
loyal to the
know,
Lord. He loves
brother
the Lord.
Israel, we know.
He loves the Lord. But you know what? I get that. I get that. He loves God. He is faithful to the house of God where we attend. But for me, that honey, it's the faithfulness for me, baby. That
You
that
know,
be-
but some women, but I hear a lot of men, and because I'm in digital spaces, so I listen to conversations, and I hear a lot of men saying, particularly Black women, "Oh, you don't want to submit," and Black women are not submissive.
that's a
We
lie.
are, but we're not going to submit to mess.
Come through.
And it's when we see a man walking in integrity, we have no but we have no problem submitting, but there's a way to lead, and leadership is not dictatorship. And I wear the pants. Sometimes you coming in because he knows your heart. If he's really a man of God and has discernment, he doesn't have to talk hard to you.
No, not at all.
He can come say, Nutella, now. You know, I don't know what he called you. I'm just saying it because, but like, it's just he should know your spirit to know that he can say something to you. And vice
Absolutely.
versa, a woman doesn't have to come in emasculating the man either.
Exactly.
Because if you are the one securing the bag, you don't have to emasculate your husband. Sis, you don't wear the boxers and the panties. You can only wear.
What you said.
So it's just like so that's a dynamic as far as understanding each other, knowing each other's languages. I think
Absolutely.
it's important. I'm not gonna say who, but there was a particular first lady when I came home, and this person has said this to me more than once. Like, you're in the military, you're around all those men. How is it that you still don't have a husband? And it really hurt my feelings. It really hurt my feelings. She said this to me more than once.
Ugh.
And I had to process it. I really had to process it because Coco wanted to respond, but then Sister Camille was like, "No, shut up."
Right. Yeah.
But I had to
Absolutely.
process it, and I thought to myself, yes, I could have been married, but growing up apostolic, there was such a restriction because my mom was in ministry, I always couldn't do so many things.
Hmm.
I wanted to explore, and not that I was just wilding out, but I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my voice. I was not assertive. Um, I needed to find Camille first.
Mhm.
I need to figure out what my purpose was and what I wanted to do. Do I want to be married? Yes. but I want to be an asset and not a liability. It's a
Absolutely.
partnership. I want to come in with a team player. A lot of women want to have the Real Housewives mentality and just sit and eat. But I'm like, no, brother, I got forks, I got napkins,
Right.
let's do this together. That's my mentality. But I knew I needed to do some things and build myself up. I was a college dropout, so I was like, okay, I need to go back to school. I have my master's degree now. And some guys might not care about those things, but I needed that for Camille.
That's right.
Um, and in that, I've learned to really love myself. I found my groove. I'm happy. I'm in a good space. I'm in digital media. I'm an author now. I
Good.
have a real estate school next month. I'm doing other things. So,
Yes.
like, I like where I am right now. Not to say I don't want to, but it's just like because being in the military and traveling, I see God differently because
Yeah.
I
Right.
experience Him beyond the four walls. And one of my what I call my spiritual awakening moments where it matured me on deployment, and we woke up and we spent Resurrection Sunday on the Red Sea. And so
Wow.
just that experience shifted my perspective of God, how I read scripture, because naturally but spiritually it's a lot going on in that place in the earth. And so for me to have that experience, when I came back to church, I was like, and it was a lot going on. That girl, you didn't. The spirit was high, and I was like, because the way I was interpreting everything was different.
Right. I bet. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So where I'm at now, um, talking to people, and I've dated before, and thought about, well, I might marry him, whatever. But looking at the guy, I have not met someone I felt emotionally safe with, or I felt spiritually covered by.
Right.
I could trust him in his integrity and his emotions and maturity, and I have not met that person yet.
Wow.
In and out of the church, I have not.
Wow.
So until then, you know, I'm just paraphrasing the Negro International version. Boaz found Ruth when she was hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Her hands were she was working. So I'm like you. I'm right now. God keep me busy. I read,
Right.
look like I'm doing other things, and it's not that I'm killing time, but I'm really I'm living my life right now.
That's
Mhm.
good. That's awesome.
At that point, maybe I'll move him later. I don't know, but I'm so focused on just loving me and enjoying the space to where when that person it comes into my space, it's like, oh, okay. But
Right.
I'm not pressed. I'm not pressed. And I
That's
think
awesome.
women, because of the church culture, when you have first ladies or mothers or whoever in the church making these comments out of desperation because the clock is ticking, now you're making a decision, a knee-jerk decision, because you're trying to beat the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making a decision that could be detrimental to your financial future, your
Absolutely.
emotional future, your spiritual future, and maybe even your physical future.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, I'm not ringed up yet.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That's all right. That's beautiful. And I wish I had that mentality back in the 90s.
Mhm.
I really do. That's why I say you and my god sister, and there are a few other sisters that I truly admire, because I'm like, man, I wish I had done that back in the 90s. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self what you just said. You
Mhm.
know, go to school, enjoy the world. But sometimes the Lord will have others walk the journey, so you don't have to suffer.
Yeah, and I want to be one and done. That is my desire. Lord forbid if that happened, I need to be able to take care of myself.
What you
Right.
said, yeah.
That's right.
There's so many women that get in spaces because they are financially trapped, you know,
Mhm.
Yep.
and I don't want to be one of those people. I want to be able, and if the Lord were to take him, then I'm still all right.
That's right. Yep.
Mhm.
That's
So
right.
it's like I think as women get so focused on the event of marriage and I said yes and hashtag, social media
Right.
relationship goals. But it's like, sis, you have to think about preparing for marriage. Not because he can be fine, he can have the car, he can have the degree, but can he do life with you? Like, what
Right.
will happen if you get sick? Is he gonna stay? What if you can't bathe yourself? Is he gonna do that? What if a parent dies? How's he gonna, is he gonna be there if you have to grieve or vice versa? You gotta
Right.
because marriage is cyclical. You got
Yes.
comes around. So and we have an argument. Is he gonna pack up and leave? Are you gonna pack up and leave because now you're emotionally triggered? And if you do have a disagreement, you have to learn how to fight fair and fight without hitting below the belt, without being disrespectful. Or if he's telling you something, you pillow talking, sis, that doesn't mean reach back and pull a secret he told you.
Right.
You're wrong. So these are the things why I'm having these conversations, because married or single, the education of marriage and relationship, it needs to happen. And we need to have these conversations. How do you talk to each other? You may get him mad, but are you going to let him go to bed hungry? You not going to cook?
Right. No, he need to fast. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Because if someone at the job noticed he's not bringing Tupperware anymore, well, I brought something.
And that's
you opening the door.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's all you have to look at the bigger picture, you know. So again, these conversations I feel are necessary.
Yeah.
As far as singlehood, marriage, dating, and just to have these conversations. So thank you so much. And I didn't mean to. I don't know where all that came from, but but just to have these talks, because I think particularly in the church, it's not discussed, and we need to have these conversations.
Right. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. So was there anything else you guys wanted to share before we wrap everything up?
That was about it.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you this. It's kind of after our second date, I knew she was the one. So
yeah. Okay. People in the back.
So let's do a bonus round because some people are in these relationships. Y'all dating for 3 years.
I don't understand that. Right. It's just me.
Yeah, you don't have to date forever.
12 years, but we were married too. Like I don't.
Yeah, because when now me, it took me. I think. Well, I guess I knew after the Quentin thing, but I didn't. I didn't let him know that though till later on. But he has always said after this, and I've heard that a man when he knows. Yeah.
Really,
it don't take him 5 years to know if he want to marry you or not, sis.
Yeah.
So
okay. So what is your advice to women that are in these 9-year, 12-year relationships?
I would say, sis, you probably need to kind of reevaluate some things, and especially if you're a believer, you know, you need to reevaluate some things in your life and see if this is really for real what God will have you to do. You know, if this, you probably need to start seeking the Lord for real. Is this the person, Lord, that you want in my life? Not the person that you went to the club and you got him and you tried to get him saved and helped him speak in tongues and all that.
Married dating.
Right. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the person that God for real want in your life. Because you know what? It's one thing I love about God. He don't make no mistakes. And if God says so, and if that is the person, now I'm talking about if God say it. I ain't talking about you telling yourself.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if God says it.
You know, there's a lot of people that feel in their spirit.
They are. The heart is desperately wicked. You know, it's like, oh, but I just feel it in my heart. Well, Jeremiah said the heart is desperately wicked, and who can know it? I mean, sometimes you can't even trust your own heart, because your heart will lead you down a destructive path.
So my first marriage, I got married when I was 18. Had one of my uncles. He came to me. He was like, "Heard you get married." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You asked God?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Boy, you ain't asked God."
And you still
and I never forgot that. I was like,
Yeah. So it means something to have God's approval. Yes. It means something.
Man, this is so good. We just keep opening doors, but you know, I'm not like these preachers. 3 more minutes. I'm gonna. I definitely want to bring you guys back for more conversation. Okay. For those that may be watching and listening, please let us know if you really enjoyed this conversation, and be sure to follow both of them on social media. Before we end, what do you guys have next on the horizon?
You want to go over that?
No,
you tell it.
No, this you.
So, to anybody that follows me. So as of this past Sunday, I am officially signed to DAF Entertainment. on the label DAF Entertainment. Is it what's the
Alright.
entertainment group? So that's what we're working on next. Of course, and I got my new single is the pre-order is February the 11th. Oh, can I tell it, Camille?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I done said it now. Pre-order is February 11th and it drops February 25th.
Okay.
So I am God. That's probably a whole nother conversation too, Camille. So God really was faithful and came through for me on that to allow that just that wonderful blessing.
Well, look, I'm booking for April, so you can come right on back.
Yeah, and so the good thing about this is it is an independent label, which we love because we've been doing this on our own for 10 years. So we still get to maintain our creativity.
Yes,
we own our masters.
Good.
The cool thing is that this label actually has a distribution deal with one of the biggest labels in the world, Warner. So they're going to be helping pushing it. So it's a win-win for us.
And we got the word that Warner likes my song.
And they like it. So they don't. I guess they don't like everybody's song, but they said they like this one. So
congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah. So it's an awesome blessing.
So we're excited about that. God is
we have to bring you back and celebrate.
Yes.
You know me, I'll be in your DM. Hey, Bree.
Right.
Yeah.
You know when people want some, hey sis.
Right. You can do that. Everybody can't do that, but you can do that.
Thanks. What's up, Carlos Hale in the comments? What's going on, Los?
Oh, Carlos. We missed you.
Yes, I've known Carlos way back when we were all in college. He was at Lane, I was at MTSU. So
okay.
Yeah, what's going on? So first of all, thank you so much just for joining me here. I do appreciate your transparency about your love journey and just having an open conversation. I think we did pretty good to talk about divorce in the church. We did so tactfully. We did a good job.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So definitely want to bring you guys back to have more conversations about love, marriage, and so on, and just advice to those. How long have you guys been married?
It'll be
13 years in November.
Yeah, so we need to bring you back just for some of those conversations, and maybe even do a panel discussion with a couple of other married couples. I think that'd be cool as well. So your guys' social media, what is that one more time?
Everything is at Shree Isabell. SHREE is a bell, just like it sounds.
Cool.
That's my radio voice.
Yes. And where can they find the radio station?
You can go to my website, shreeisabell.com, or you can download the Live 365 app and just go to Isabel Radio there.
Awesome. Well, for those tuning in this entire month, every Tuesday, I'm going to sit down with married couples. We're going to have different points of discussion. Next week, I'm going to have Pastor and First Lady Deborah Walton on.
Oh, yeah.
That would be called When Shift Happens. We're going to talk about their marriage journey through incarceration, being called to ministry, and so forth and so on. So that's going to be a great conversation. That'll be next Tuesday right here at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And once again, thank you guys to Shree and Quentin for joining me here. What's up, Demetrius? Short? So again, guys, this is Camille as the host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators can connect. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Peace. Y'all, these braces give me a hard time.
I've been there.
Good night. All right, guys.
All right.
Y'all all right. All right. Bye.
Bye.